Welcome to the deep dive. We take a whole stack of sources, articles, research, our own notes, and we pull out the really important bits, the goal,
hmm
to get you truly well-informed and fast.
hmm
Today, we're getting into something well, it feels like it's everywhere now, artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. It's hard to avoid.
And it brings up this mix of feelings, doesn't it? Like wonder, but also maybe a bit of unease.
Definitely.
It gets you thinking, what if this tech, the stuff designed to make us super productive, what if it's actually kind of subtly changing the basic economic rules, ways we maybe haven't totally figured out yet?
That's exactly the question we're digging into.
Mhm.
This deep dive, it's all about connecting Karl Marx's, well, his big economic ideas with how AI is just booming right now.
Yeah.
We're using a guide called Marx and AI, the Minute Guide, as a key source here.
Right. So our mission really is to unpack how AI fits into Marx's way of thinking about value and capital and profit. And what does that actually mean for jobs, for
Yeah.
inequality, which keeps growing, and for the public services we all count on?
Yeah, the real world impact.
We want to give you that shortcut, basically, to
Yeah.
get you properly informed, maybe with a different angle, maybe spark a few of those, moments.
Okay, so let's start with Marx's foundational idea.
Mm-hmm.
Where does value actually come from? His labor theory of value.
Right.
For Marx, the key thing is that new wealth, new value, it doesn't just appear out of raw materials or machines. It's fundamentally about human effort.
Human work.
Exactly. He called it socially necessary labor time, which is basically the average time needed to make something using the typical skills and tools available at the time.
Okay, so give us an example, like a tree.
Right, think of a tree just standing in a forest. It's useful, maybe, but its actual market value, pretty low.
Sure.
Now, picture a skilled carpenter. They spend hours, use their skill, turn that wood into a beautiful, solid table. Marx would say that huge increase in value, from tree to table, that comes entirely from the carpenter's labor.
So the wood itself just sort of passed on its original value.
Exactly. The new value is all that human skill and effort poured into it.
That's a powerful way to frame it.
It really is. And this is crucial for understanding machines and AI in this context.
Okay.
Marx saw machines as dead labor. Why? Because they're products of past human work.
Right, someone had to make the machine first.
Precisely. Think of that carpenter's hammer. It helps them work faster, sure, but it doesn't create new value in the table itself.
It just transfers a bit of its own value, like the value from making the hammer.
Exactly. A tiny bit depreciating over time. It transfers the value embedded in it from past labor.
So, okay, let's apply that to AI. If AI is like I don't know, a super smart hammer
A very complex tool, yes.
built by human engineers, using data humans often collected or labeled, does that mean all this massive investment in AI, the servers, the data centers, all that stuff, it doesn't actually create new wealth?
According to Marx's framework, no, not directly.
Huh. That feels really counterintuitive, doesn't it? We see tech progress as wealth creation.
It does feel counterintuitive to how we usually talk about it, but that's Marx's point. AI, as a tool, is fantastic at making processes efficient, helping humans, even replacing certain tasks.
Yeah.
But the fundamental source of new value, for him, stays with human effort, with living labor.
And this has big implications, you're saying, for governments, public services.
Huge implications. If human labor is the ultimate source of new value, then think about, say, a nurse caring for a patient or a teacher educating kids.
Their value goes way beyond just the equipment they use.
Yeah, exactly. It highlights the incredible human effort, the skill, the empathy involved. It suggests maybe we should focus investment more on people, on their skills, their adaptability.
Rather than just pouring money into the tech itself.
Well, or at least understanding the balance. It shifts the focus.
Okay, that definitely highlights the human element. And this view of value led Marx to split production inputs into two types, right? Constant and variable capital.
That's right.
Let's start with constant capital.
Well,
What's that?
Okay, constant capital, or C, is basically all the non-human stuff. Tools, machines, factory buildings, raw materials.
So for a baker, it's the oven, the flour, the yeast.
Exactly. Their value is just transferred to the final product, the bread. The oven doesn't create new value, it just passes on a fraction of its own value with each loaf.
And thinking about today, AI systems, the big computers, data centers, the software, that's all constant capital.
Perfect modern examples. They're incredibly sophisticated tools, yes, built by humans, but in this view, they don't magically create new wealth themselves.
They're an investment in making the process better and more efficient.
Precisely. An investment in the means of production.
Okay, so what's the other type? Variable capital.
Variable capital, or V, is different. This is the money paid as wages to human workers.
Ah, the people cost.
Right, and Marx called this living labor. It's unique because it's the only part of capital, in his theory, that can create more value than it costs.
How does that work?
Let's go back to the baker's worker. Say they're paid 10 pounds for an hour's work, but in that hour, through their effort, they turn flour and stuff into, say, 30 pounds worth of bread.
Okay.
That extra 20 pounds, that's new value created by the worker, beyond their own cost.
I see. So the variable part is because it can produce more than its own value.
Exactly. Its output value isn't fixed like the machines.
So applying this framework, it gives you a really different lens for looking at public services, doesn't it?
It does.
If you value human labor this way, how does it change decisions about investing in, say, more nurses versus a new hospital management AI?
It forces you to consider where the fundamental value, the social value, is being created.
And it flags that tension too, right? If AI, the constant capital, takes over tasks that potentially displaces human workers, the variable capital.
Precisely. Which leads us straight into surplus value.
The extra bit.
Exactly. This is Marx's explanation for profit. In your baker example, worker paid at 10 pounds creates 30 pounds value. The 20-pound difference is surplus value.
And Marx saw this as unpaid work.
Essentially, yes, unpaid labor time. The worker produces value equivalent to their wage in part of the hour, and the rest of the value they create in that hour is surplus value, captured by the owner of the bakery as profit.
Right. And capitalists, in his view, are always trying to increase this surplus value.
Constantly. You talked about two main ways. First, absolute surplus value,
Which is?
making people work longer hours or harder for the same pay, just extracting more labor time.
Okay. And the second?
Relative surplus value. This is about making workers more productive within their paid time, often through technology, new machines, better processes.
Really getting that baker a faster oven or mixer?
Exactly. And AI is incredibly effective at boosting relative surplus value.
How so?
Well, think of a civil servant using an AI tool to process benefit claims. They can maybe handle twice as many claims in the same amount of time.
So more output, more value generated in their paid hours.
Right. The surplus value extracted from that specific worker increases. But here's the twist.
Ah, there's always a twist.
If AI means you need fewer workers overall to do the same amount of work.
Then the total amount of living labor employed might actually go down.
Exactly. So you get this tension. More efficiency per remaining worker, maybe, but potentially less total new value being created across the whole economy because there's less human labor overall.
Wow. Okay. So thinking about the consequences of all this, this framework helps explain things like wealth concentration, why money seems to flow upwards.
It offers one explanation, yes. If profit derives from surplus value and technology helps concentrate the means of production.
Then those who own the technology capture more of that surplus value.
That's the argument. And for public services, it suggests that investing in your human workforce, teachers, nurses, social workers, isn't just a cost. It's an investment in the actual creation of social value.
Right. And it really pushes questions about fair wages, how we handle automation displacing jobs, and ultimately how we tax and redistribute wealth.
Absolutely. Which brings us to another big challenge Marx identified. Something AI seems to be putting on fast forward. The paradox of productivity.
Okay, what's the puzzle here?
The puzzle is AI is amazing at producing more stuff faster, cheaper. What Marx called use values, useful things.
Yeah, efficiency goes way up.
But if you need fewer people to make all that stuff, and if new value, exchange value, only comes from human labor,
then the total amount of new value being created might not actually grow as fast, or could even shrink.
that's the paradox. You can have, millions of gadgets rolling off a fully automated AI-run production line, high use value.
Yeah.
But if almost no human labor is involved in the direct production.
The amount of new value added per gadget is tiny.
Potentially, yes. And the overall pool of newly created value in the economy might stagnate or grow much slower, even as physical output explodes.
And AI just throws fuel on this fire.
It accelerates it dramatically. Because AI drives huge investment into constant capital. The tech, the systems relative to variable capital, the wages for human workers.
It changes the whole ratio.
Fundamentally. It alters the organic composition of capital, as Marx called it.
And the downstream effects, Jobs, obviously. Potential losses, pressure on wages.
Definitely. And for public services, if the overall economic system is generating less new value to be taxed.
Funding gets squeezed, even if the need for services goes up because of job losses or inequality.
Exactly. It forces us to rethink what we mean by public value. Is it just about efficiency, or is it about human well-being, human connection, things AI can't easily replicate?
Which connects to Marx's profit rate formula, right?
It does. The formula is profit rate surplus value S divided by the total investment, which is constant capital C plus variable capital V.
S over C plus V. And businesses want that number high.
Naturally. But think about what happens with large-scale AI adoption.
Okay, C, the constant capital, the cost of the AI, the infrastructure, the data that goes way, way up.
Hugely expensive, often.
And V, the variable capital, the wages. If AI replaces workers, V might shrink.
It could shrink relative to C, yes. Even if the surplus value S extracted from each remaining worker goes up because they're more productive.
The total surplus value S might not increase enough to offset that massive increase in C.
That's the core issue Marx identified. This leads to his famous prediction, the tendency of the rate of profit to fall.
So as businesses invest more and more in machines, in constant capital,
And relatively less in people, in variable capital, the source of new value, living labor, becomes a smaller slice of the total investment pie.
which puts downward pressure on the overall profit rate in the long run.
That's the tendency he predicted. And AI seems like a massive accelerator for this exact trend.
And you're saying this isn't just a boardroom problem?
Not at all. It affects everyone. If profit rates are squeezed long-term, or if profits become super concentrated in a few AI winners.
That hits tax revenues for public services.
Right. It fuels inequality. It can create economic instability. It forces governments to think hard about ensuring people have meaningful work and that the wealth being generated is shared fairly.
And AI also turbocharges those other trends Marx talked about, capital concentration and centralization.
Oh, absolutely. It's like pouring gasoline on them.
Remind us of the difference again, concentration and centralization.
Sure. Concentration is when individual companies reinvest their profits to grow bigger, accumulating more capital, like buying more AI systems.
Okay, organic growth.
Right. Centralization is different. That's when existing capitals merge. One company buys another, or they merge into a bigger entity. Think mergers and acquisitions.
Got it. Like one big tech giant buying up promising AI startup.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
AI fuels both like crazy.
Oh.
Well, the huge upfront costs, developing cutting-edge AI, the data, the computing power, it's incredibly expensive. Only the really big players can afford it at scale.
Creates huge barriers to entry.
It's massive. Plus, you get winner-takes-all dynamics. Data advantages are huge. The more data you have, the better your AI gets, the more users you attract, the more data you get. It's a feedback loop.
Leading to monopolies or oligopolies.
Very quickly. And AI's efficiency at scale just crushes smaller competitors who can't afford that level of investment.
And the consequences for, well, everyone else.
Fewer choices for consumers. Less competition driving innovation or keeping prices down. Huge power imbalances with labor. If there are only a few giant employers, they can dictate wages and conditions more easily.
And big questions about data privacy and control.
Absolutely. Plus, think about national resilience. If critical infrastructure, energy grids, finance, healthcare becomes totally reliant on AI systems controlled by just one or two global companies, that's risky.
Yeah, that definitely raises some red flags.
And it stifles innovation too, potentially. Smaller players just get squeezed out or bought up before they can challenge the giants.
So these trends, the profit rate pressure, the concentration they feed into what Marx called crisis tendencies, and AI makes these worse.
It seems to amplify them significantly. Take the overproduction puzzle, or maybe underconsumption is a better way to put it.
Okay.
AI allows companies to produce unbelievable amounts of goods and services. Massive potential output.
Right.
But if AI has also displaced workers and suppressed wages for many others, who has the money to buy all this stuff?
Ah, the gap between production capacity and people's actual purchasing power.
Exactly. You get a chronic shortfall in demand relative to potential supply. This can lead to slowdowns, unsold goods, recessions.
Makes sense. What about financial instability?
That pressure on the profit rate.
Yeah.
It pushes capital to seek returns elsewhere, often through financial speculation rather than investing in real production.
Looking for quicker, maybe riskier profits.
Right, which can inflate asset bubbles, housing, stocks, crypto, whatever.
Yeah.
And AI itself can make financial markets way more volatile.
Oh.
Algorithmic trading, high-frequency trading, AI can react in microseconds, amplifying small market movements into huge swings. A minor panic can become a flash crash almost instantly.
Making crises spread faster and hit harder.
Potentially, yes. It speeds everything up.
And underlying all this is that worsening inequality and social strain we talked about.
Yes, AI seems to be a powerful engine for concentrating wealth. If the gains from AI productivity flow mainly to the owners of the technology and capital,
While workers face wage stagnation or job losses.
the gap between rich and poor widens. This can lead to social unrest, political instability, and paradoxically, increased demand for public safety nets and services.
Just when the funding for those services is under pressure.
Precisely. Less tax revenue potentially coming in from wages, maybe complex schemes to avoid taxes on corporate profits, combined with more people needing support. It's a perfect storm for squeezing public services like healthcare, education, social care.
So the message here is that governments really need to be proactive. They can't just let these trends run unchecked.
That seems to be the implication.
Hmm.
Policies around social safety nets, fair taxation, regulating big tech, investing in people and communities become even more critical.
Okay, so that paints a pretty challenging picture. How do we actually navigate this? Let's talk practical stuff, policy responses. First up, work and labor.
Right. The future of work in the AI era. It's complex. We see job displacement, sure, AI automating routine tasks, cognitive and manual.
But also new jobs being created.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
AI engineers, data scientists, AI ethicists, people to manage and oversee these systems. And maybe, crucially, a growth in roles that lean heavily on human skills AI can't replicate.
Like what?
Complex problem solving, creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, care work, education, high-level strategy, things requiring deep human understanding and interaction.
But there's a mismatch, isn't there? The skills needed for the new jobs aren't always the skills people losing jobs have.
That's the massive challenge,
Yeah.
the skills gap. It needs urgent, large-scale attention education, retraining.
And we also see de-skilling sometimes, where
Right.
AI takes over the complex parts of a job.
Yes, that happens too. A job might still exist, but become much simpler. More about just overseeing or approving the AI's output. Think of maybe some diagnostic or analytical roles.
So you have de-skilling in some areas and the need for major reskilling in others.
Exactly, it's not uniform.
Yeah.
And it suggests the whole nature of work might shift. Maybe less traditional full-time employment, more focus on uniquely human contributions.
Which puts the onus back on governments.
To actively shape this transition, yes. Investing heavily in lifelong learning and reskilling programs, strengthening unemployment benefits and social safety nets, thinking about how to ensure the productivity gains from AI are shared fairly, and maybe reorienting public services themselves toward those human-centric skills.
Okay, let's talk wealth distribution and inequality directly. You said AI pushes wealth towards capital.
That seems to be the structural tendency, because AI boosts efficiency, potentially reduces labor costs, and enables those winner-takes-all market dynamics we discussed. The returns tend to flow to the owners of the AI systems, the data, the platforms.
Capital's share of the pie gets bigger.
Potentially, yes. While at the same time, many workers might face stagnant wages or more precarious work gig economy jobs, short-term contracts.
Less stability, more stress.
Right. And this isn't just within countries. Globally, the picture looks challenging too.
How so?
AI development is heavily concentrated in a few rich nations and companies. This can widen the gap between developed and developing countries.
Hindering their growth.
Yeah, and leading to things like brain drain, where talent leaves poorer countries to work for the big tech hubs. There's even talk of digital colonialism,
What does that mean?
where vast amounts of data are extracted from populations globally, often with little benefit returning to them, feeding AI systems owned elsewhere that generate profits elsewhere.
Wow, okay, so again, what can be done? How do governments try to rebalance this?
Well, policy levers include things like progressive taxation, taxing wealth, and corporate profits fairly, especially those boosted by AI, strengthening worker power through unions and collective bargaining, investing heavily in public education and skills, human capital,
And globally.
promoting fair access to AI technology and skills worldwide, international cooperation on regulating data flows and ownership, maybe global minimum taxes on corporations. It's complex, but inaction seems likely to just worsen disparities.
Right, so let's get really concrete. What policy alternatives are seriously on the table? Universal Basic Income, UBI. comes up a lot.
It does. UBI is the idea of a regular, unconditional payment given to every individual citizen.
Regardless of whether they're working.
Exactly. And its relevance in the AI age is seen as multifaceted. It could act as a safety net against job displacement, reduce poverty and precarity, address inequality directly, and importantly, maintain consumer demand in the economy if wages are stagnating.
How would you pay for it? That's the big question.
Various proposals exist. Maybe specific taxes on companies using high levels of automation, a robot tax, or wealth taxes, taxes on carbon, redirecting existing subsidies. It's a major debate, but the concept is gaining traction as a response to AI's potential impact.
Okay, what else? Public ownership of AI, that sounds quite radical.
It does, but the argument is that if AI is becoming a foundational general-purpose technology, like electricity or the internet,
Maybe it shouldn't be entirely controlled by private interests.
that's the idea. Public ownership could mean government bodies or public trusts developing, owning, or regulating key AI systems, especially those used in critical public services or infrastructure,
And the goals would be
to ensure the benefits are shared broadly, to prioritize public good, the use value for society over pure profit motives or exchange value, to maintain democratic control over a very powerful technology, and potentially to generate public revenue that could fund other services or even UBI.
interesting. So it's about treating AI more like a public utility in some cases.
That's one way to think about it, yes, for certain applications at least.
And all this points towards needing to maybe reimagine the whole economic system, or at least its goals.
I think that's the deeper implication. If the old rules based on assumptions about human labor being central to most production and relatively stable employment are being upended by AI,
Then maybe simply chasing GDP growth isn't the right goal anymore.
perhaps not the only goal. Maybe we need broader metrics focused on shared prosperity, well-being, meaningful contribution, environmental sustainability, resilience.
So how could governments actually start doing that? It sounds very abstract.
Well, concrete steps could include developing and using broader measures of progress beyond just GDP, things like the Genuine Progress Indicator, or focusing on health outcomes, education levels, environmental quality.
Measuring what matters, basically.
Right. Also, actively supporting different forms of work and economic organization, like worker cooperatives, social enterprises, platform cooperatives, community wealth building initiatives, things that distribute value and control differently.
And strong governance around AI itself.
Absolutely crucial. Establishing clear ethical guidelines, robust regulations, ensuring democratic oversight, maybe exploring things like public data trusts so that data isn't just controlled by corporations.
And rethinking tax.
Definitely. How do you tax value generated by algorithms? Do you tax companies based on automation levels? Do you implement digital services taxes effectively? These are tough questions governments are grappling with right now.
So the big takeaway here for our listeners, for governments, AI isn't just another tech upgrade. It forces us to confront some really fundamental economic questions.
It really does. It challenges assumptions about where value comes from, how wealth is created and distributed, and what the goals of our economy should even be.
And it demands some pretty brave, proactive policy choices if we want the benefits to be shared widely.
It seems that way. Doing nothing or just tweaking around the edges might simply lead to greater instability and inequality.
Okay, so let's try and sum this up. We've got this core tension, haven't we? AI is amazing power to create use value, incredible services, efficient production.
Versus the huge challenges it poses for exchange value, how wealth is actually generated in the system, how it's shared, leading to these big issues around jobs, profit rates, inequality.
And the key point is, the future isn't written yet. It's not inevitable that AI leads to mass unemployment or dystopia.
Not at all. The outcomes depend hugely on the choices we make as societies, through our governments, in businesses, even as individuals, how we decide to develop AI, who owns it, how it's regulated, how the gains are distributed.
Those choices will determine whether AI leads to a genuinely more prosperous and equitable society for everyone, or if it just makes the existing problems even worse.
Which leaves us with a final thought, perhaps.
Go on.
As AI increasingly shapes, well, everything, how do we actually redefine value itself?
Yeah.
How do we ensure that true wealth, societal wealth, isn't just measured in gigabytes processed or fractions of a second saved or pure profit?
But in something more fundamental.
Yeah, in the well-being, the dignity, the meaningful contribution, and the flourishing of every single human being.